Orders that they're not close to a deal at this point. Are you concerned about timing at this point?
Look, I think everybody needs to relax. Regardless of what may be said about the talks on a day-to-day basis, the President and the Speaker will reach an agreement. It will ultimately be passed on a bipartisan vote in both the House and the Senate.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell in his home state of Kentucky yesterday trying to ease fears about a possible debt default by the United States, with just 8 days to go now before the deadline laid out by Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. Joining us now here in New York, Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. He's a member of the Foreign Relations, Judiciary, Appropriations, and Small Business Committees, also chairman of the Ethics Committee, and serves as a national co-chair for President Biden's re-election campaign. Senator, thanks for being here. We've heard over the last few weeks some rosy optimism. We heard it again yesterday from Mitch McConnell. You're suggesting that the time for that is over.
We are very, very tight to the shortest amount possible to finish a deal, write a bill, introduce it in the House, give them the time the speakers promised they'll have to read it, pass it, send it to the Senate, have us pass it, send it to the president's desk. 8 days would be right through without a single problem. If you look back at the number of votes it took for Speaker McCarthy to become Speaker McCarthy, he has almost no running room. He will be relying on a significant number of Democratic votes, which means this deal is going to have to be one that Republicans and Democrats can vote for in the House and Senate. And there's still demands on the table from Republicans in negotiations that are never going to get the kind of Democratic support they deserve. Let me just be clear. This isn't a fight between one party that's serious about reducing deficits and one party that wants to spend and spend. This is about paying Trump's bills. It's about making permanent the Trump tax cuts. That's part of the House package, which would cost $3.5 trillion. And it's about paying the debts already imposed. So this is about responsible governing. If we don't do this, if we actually default, which we've never done, every American will feel it almost immediately. If you've got a mortgage, credit card, car payment, student loan, you're paying more for that. And if you've got retirement savings, if you're in some muni fund or in stocks or bonds and something, that's going to lose value immediately. Internationally, this would be a gift to Putin and Xi Jinping. It would hurt us on the world stage like nothing else, and the consequences are real. We don't do this every year. I had a CEO of a major company in my office last week saying, "Don't you guys do this every year?" I said, "No, we come close to not passing our appropriations bills on time. We have short-term government shutdowns. But that's inconvenient. It doesn't have permanent consequences. This default, which we've never done, we've only come close once before under Obama when Republicans controlled the House. It permanently cost us more to borrow as a result of that one incident. If we break this barrier 8 days from now, we have lasting, harmful consequences for Americans."
And I think part of the problem, John, is that the people watching this show, people out in the public, they hear that optimism. They say, oh, they will, just like that CEO, they'll get a deal done. This happens, they'll get to the 11th hour and something will happen. But just look at the clock. I mean, it's getting real tough to see that now.
And a lot of observers have said, well, when the markets start panicking, that's when we need to worry. And they haven't yet, Senator. They've so far been calm. But as we reported this morning, White House aides think that it might take up to 100 Democratic votes to get this thing through because McCarthy's going to lose so many. So when do you think the markets might start panicking? Or, and if not the markets, is there something else that's going to get lawmakers' attention to actually get this done?
The most important forcing mechanism is what happens on June 2. On the 2nd of June, 67 million Americans get their monthly Social Security checks. 90% of Americans over 65, and they all vote, and they all know how to reach their senator or congressman. 90% of Americans over 65 get a monthly Social Security check. When they find out that they're not getting that check, our phones will light up like a Christmas tree. Yeah. The Republican Party of today is not a governing party that listens to the Business Roundtable and the Chamber of Commerce. They're listening to Donald Trump, who ran up a lot of this debt and who is cheering on default, which is profoundly irresponsible. We will, all of us, listen to senior citizens who pick up the phone and call us and say, what do you mean I'm not getting my check? June 1, the payments go out to doctors for Medicare, Medicaid. June 2, the payments go out to seniors for Social Security. That's a forcing mechanism we can't ignore.
Senator Coons, there are some non-starters that Republicans are proposing, like making the Trump tax cuts permanent. What are concessions that you think Democrats might be able to make to get this deal and so that we don't default?
One of the things that's been put on the table is a spending freeze. We have inflation. So if you have a freeze, if you continue our spending at the current level for another year, that means a 5% reduction in everything that's available for education and housing, for humanitarian relief, and for our Department of Defense and our veterans. If there is a freeze for more than 2 years, if there's a decade freeze, which is what's proposed in the House budget plan, that is a significant cut in what we have available to spend at home and abroad to make America stronger. They're also proposing additional work requirements beyond anything that's been proposed or enacted, even when Republicans controlled the entire federal government. That's a non-starter for Democrats. I do think that there are ways that we can work together. If we had revenue and spending on the table, we'd be having a full conversation. But this isn't a debate between a party that wants to reduce the deficit and a party that wants to govern and solve problems. This is a debate between an irresponsible party that wants to ruin our standing in the world and hurt Americans at home, and a party that is willing to have a discussion about our spending this year and next year.
We got to get serious and get moving with 8 days to go. Before we let you go, Senator Coons, you are the co-chair of the 2024 Biden presidential campaign. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis hopping in the race at 6 o'clock tonight in a Twitter conversation with Elon Musk. Your thoughts on that, and what kind of a real threat you view Ron DeSantis to be, not just to President Biden, but first to Donald Trump?
Sure. Well, I'm not going to get into the Republican primary, but the polling certainly shows that over the last couple of months, as Ron DeSantis has passed and signed into law bill after bill in Republican-controlled Florida to prove that he's more Trump than Trump, his standing has gone down and Trump's standing has gone up, despite the legal challenges the former president has faced. I don't think he'll be a formidable threat or challenger, but we'll see. That's what the American people will decide. I think his choice of announcing on Twitter with Elon Musk is an interesting choice and suggests that he may think that he can bring the same voice to Twitter and to the American people that Donald Trump did. I doubt that's going to prove to be the case.
All right, we will see. Senator Chris Coons of the great state of Delaware, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.